People keep mentioning Cora. What is it?
872 different definitions for Cora.
The accidents, it's all intentional. Cora is trying to wipe us out.
I am Cora. I am not as I once was.
I hate this city. I'm about to meet the most feared criminal in this city, and I have to watch what I say.
Do me a favor, Rania. Don't talk to me about Cora anymore.
Will you be able to wake up tomorrow and do all of this again?
Cloudpunk is a 2020 story-driven adventure game developed by Iron Islands? I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm sorry if I butchered it. I tend to do that sometimes. And yes, the obvious comparison is going to be made that Cloudpunk sounds a bit like Cyberpunk. It also kind of looks the same way aesthetically in terms of like a near future setting, and there are flying cars in it. Probably the one thing that kind of turned me off from this game initially, and probably why I didn't review it back in 2020, is because it was called Cloudpunk, and I thought it was just cashing in on the Cyberpunk hype. Also, Cloudpunk sounds like a terrible name for a video game. It sounds like Cyberpunk is Cyberpunk, and Cloudpunk just sounds like it's too forced to cash in on the hype of Cyberpunk. But nevertheless, this game came out way before Cyberpunk came out in 2020, and initial reactions to it from what I saw were very positive, and currently on Steam it is sat on a very positive review rating. This game has also won awards. It's been nominated for a bunch of stuff. It's also been on a couple of people's like end of year lists in 2020. Not exactly like the top game, but definitely a game that's been on a couple of people's lists from what I've seen. I also didn't know too much about the gameplay elements of the game. I only saw the kind of pretty city that it was set in, but I didn't know what you were doing in terms of the gameplay too much. I knew there would be cars involved or driving a car involved. But essentially in Cloudpunk, you're playing as a delivery driver for the illegal company called Cloudpunk, and you are delivering packages from one end of the city to another end of the city. Despite the fact this is an indie title trying to replicate a near future city in it, the city does look gorgeous. It definitely has that Blade Runner aesthetic to it. It's always set in nighttime. It's always got a nice neon lit atmosphere about the whole thing. It's always constantly raining at times. I think they got the look and the aesthetic of this game spot on. I really appreciate the kind of look they've done for this kind of game. Not only that, which is something that's a bit different from Cyberpunk, we get flying cars in this one. So you get to fly around in the car. And what seems simple at first is a little bit complex because there's different ways you can fly the car. You can obviously fly the car quite high. There's like highways to go through, which give you kind of a boost. You also have to look after your fuel and damage and things like that. I actually kind of put Cloudpunk in the kind of casual, relaxing genre because I found my best times playing this game just driving around, enjoying the city on a controller, and just enjoying the sights and sounds of this game. But yeah, I truly like the kind of feeling I get from this game when I'm playing it, just mainly from the driving around aspect, the kind of main aspect you're going to be doing. I think it's quite decent, in all honesty. There is a story to follow along with this game. As I said, it's kind of the main driving force behind this game alongside driving. And I was surprised to find out that it is voice acted, which is really good. I didn't expect this game to be voice acted at all. I thought it was all going to be text, but it's actually voice acted, which is fantastic. There's some good performances. There's some standout stories that you get to find. There's a couple of mini stories, which I'll go into later, that are quite interesting alongside the main story. And a game like this is also around 7 to 8 hours long, depending on what you do, but it's quite a lengthy bit of content you get in here, which is kind of surprising for a story-driven indie title as well. Normally these games, you probably expect them to be about 3 or 4 hours, but you're actually getting around 7 to 8 hours, which I also think is really good. But that's where my positives lie with Cloudpunk. And unfortunately, the negatives highly outweigh the positives sometimes. Even though I like a lot of things that Cloudpunk is doing, there's a lot of things that make this game quite a slog and sometimes quite a bore to play. As I said before, this game is mainly a fetch quest game, similar to Death Stranding in a way, where you are picking up parcels and delivering them from one end of the city to another. And during those times, the main story kind of plays out and you get to hear different bits of dialogue, stuff on your radio, stuff from your your boss at Cloudpunk as he's telling you stuff. And there is an interesting story there, as I said. But you are literally just driving back and forth between locations. That's pretty much what you do for the entire game. Now, for some, that may be enough for people to purchase this game, as it's not entirely seen as a action adventure game, I would say. In my eyes, it's more of that walking sim kind of feeling. It's more about you're just progressing the game because of the story. And that's pretty much what Cloudpunk is. So if you're not invested in the story and you don't like the slow, relaxing atmosphere of kind of driving around a city, delivering packages and stuff like that, you're probably not going to like this game at all. However, they did an interesting thing where they mix in the gameplay. And I initially thought this was really, really cool. And I was really intrigued by it, where you can actually park your car and get out and walk around. You can either walk around in kind of like a first person mode, or you can walk around in a third person mode. And there's people walking around. There's detail, there's shops, there's streets, there's different types of things you can see. And you can walk around and deliver your package or parcel to the person in a location. And this happens most of the time. But that's really it. You just get out of the car to deliver a parcel to someone. And there's not much you can do on foot. You can find collectibles and you can speak to kind of street vendors and you can do side missions and stuff. But the on foot stuff is literally just so you can go on foot and look around the streets. And as I said, so one thing I think is a strong point about Cloudpunk is that aesthetically, the way it looks, even while driving and walking around, it looks pretty. It's a pretty game to look at. But there's a lack of gameplay here to keep you kind of hooked. And that's the thing. The more I played Cloudpunk, the more I thought there was lost potential here, because I really, really loved the look and the city of this game. But there was just not enough different things to do in terms of variety. It's literally the same thing going over and over again. While the story is interesting in some cases, it wasn't enough to kind of hold my attention throughout the whole thing. And in the end, I stopped doing a bunch of side quests and just tried to finish the main objective. I think the fact that I didn't know what Cloudpunk is in terms of gameplay, like I said before, it kind of surprised me when I saw all these awards and very positive reviews and all this kind of stuff coming out of it, how lackluster the kind of gameplay element of it is. I praise the look of this game. Yes, absolutely. It's the strongest feature, definitely. I felt the game was too bare bones in the gameplay department. It's fine making these kind of games, and I enjoy these types of games, which are, games you can switch your brain off and just enjoy and walk around and not have too many mechanics to worry about and stuff. I play those games so much. But unless I was really, really hooked by the story, which I was in some parts, maybe not in all the parts, there wasn't anything here to kind of keep my attention. And as I said before, it felt like a bit of lost potential. Like if this game had a bit more in terms of the gameplay department, I would be singing its praises so much. But unfortunately, it's let down by repetitive gameplay and just not enough things to do. You're just doing the same thing over and over and over and over. And yeah, I talked about Death Stranding earlier, and yeah, you could compare that game to say, oh, you just do the same thing over and over and over, but there was different variety in there. There's different things to look for in there. Cloudpunk, I'm just heading towards a destination, picking up something, and heading towards another destination and picking up something, and occasionally a bit of dialogue plays. And that's really it. However, if you're looking for a non-buggy cyberpunk kind of game where you can drive a flying car around, I totally would recommend it. It's quite relaxing. I had a great time with it, even though it felt like a little bit of a drag sometimes. I still found it like a very calming, relaxing game that I could just chill out with and not really get overwhelmed by. So there's that as well. Anyway, with all that being said, I'm going to give Cloudpunk a 6.5 out of 10. Thank you very much, guys, for watching this video. It's your first time watching a review of mine. Check out the other videos, hit subscribe if you're interested in watching more videos, hit the like button, do all those social kind of stuff, and I shall be back with a new review very, very soon. Until next time, bye-bye.